Welcome back to Impact Podcast. My name is Jeremy Melton, and I'm your host along with Daniel and Maddie. And this is episode number 15. And today we're going to talk about the mandate of discipline. So our highlight question each week, what kind of impact are you making on the world that we live in? We continue to ask ourselves that question. It's what keeps us going. Last week, we met with Miller McGowan. Oh, Miller. That dude was on point.
Such an impressive individual. And remember, he's not a manager. He's just a leader.
He's just a leader.
He's just a leader. And having such an influence on those around him. And he made an impact on us in the studio.
Dude, I thought he was on point. He was one of my favorites. No offense to any of my other interviewees. Maybe it was just because I didn't know. Yeah, well, no, I mean, he was on fire, dude. He was like real passionate.
Mm-hmm. He was.
That was it. Passion. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and I'm that way too, right? So I like that about him. But Daniel, you want to reflect on anything he said?
I mean, just man, his stories were like just where he's been, the Army, and just like the thing that stood out the most is again just being the leader, but not being the man, not the quote unquote leader, but doing it the right way,
not from position
for the right reasons. Yeah. You know, that's who he wants to be.
Maddie.
Yes, the AAR, after action reviews.
Nice.
The three I don't really remember the scenario that he gave, but they, after doing something, they would give 3 good things and 3 bad things or improvements that they needed to do after different things.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, we talked about we needed to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've not done that.
So my takeaway was I'd like to have him on my team. Like if I was on a team, which I'm on a lot of teams, but if I was on a team, I'd like him to be on it. Mm-hmm. Just because, again, his energy, his passion, great talker, good dude. So glad you invited him, D.
Yeah, that was great.
That worked out great. I've seen him a few times around the neighborhood since, and we've definitely grown closer. And yeah, he's a joy. He's great people, good neighbor.
Another thing, he seemed to be a man of principle, like matter of fact and principle. I thought, like, in other words, if he said something, he was going to do it, which was good.
One of my things that I wrote down in my notes is final thought, and I think this is what he said, is if you want to be an impactful leader, a title doesn't give you that.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I thought was good.
That's very true. It's good. All right, moving on. This week is the mandate of discipline. And so I'm going to ask y'all a question first. What do you think of when you hear the word discipline?
I'm in trouble.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about how we discipline our children. We're talking about, well, I mean, maybe we are, but to me, I'm thinking about like me having the discipline to do what needs to get done on a day-to-day basis to do what drives me. And discipline is something that I always come back to. I got to have something that I get excited about to really find that discipline to, because I'm the kind that I push everything to the last minute when it's due. But if I get excited about something and I have drive, and it allows me to have more discipline. So I feel like it kind of depends on what it is that's in front of me. Discipline's hard. Discipline's hard.
100%.
We're also distracted.
Yeah. It's good.
Your answer was a lot better than mine. What you think discipline is. But yeah, I mean, I just think, like when you hear the word discipline, I think of it in a negative.
Yeah.
In a negative way.
Sure. So that's what most people, when you hear discipline, you think, the first thing I think about is my kids being but here's the deal. The discipline that we're talking about, and it kind of goes to what Daniel's saying, the discipline that we're talking about today is, in fact, your ability to get things done, and so that you need to do. And so we're going to talk about it in detail. But by definition, it is the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior. So when you think about it, the practice of training people to obey a code of behavior. I tell myself all the time, I need to do this, but then you don't do it. So the opposite of discipline would be procrastination or not doing, right? And so you might say, well, how is that a mandate of leadership? Because really, discipline would be that's dealing with yourself. That has nothing to do with leadership. But in reality, it does. Why? Because you have to be a man or woman worthy of following, right? And in order for you to be worthy of following, you have to have discipline. And so that's what we're going to talk about.
I'm really hoping you're just gonna like share something that unlocks something for me. It's like magical or like, and I'm just gonna be able to like, oh, I can do that and I'll have discipline. So that's no pressure, Jeremy.
Well, look, I promise what we're going to talk about will help you. But I don't know that there's a key to do that. If there was, there'd be someone that could sell it and make millions. Here's the deal about, and I'll tell you this, of all the mandates, this is one of the ones that I struggle with the most. And you might not think so, but I do. And I'll tell you how I address it in the end, if you remind me. Because it just hit me. And it's not in these notes. Okay. So when we get done, if I don't get to it, remind me to tell you what it is that I do in lieu of discipline, or what it is I do in order to make sure that I'm disciplined.
Maddie, write that down.
I am. I got it.
So here's okay. So discipline is in fact a key to success, 100%. Okay, it's necessary, and it does unlock the door to success. You talk about unlocking doors. Discipline is what unlocks the door to winning. Okay, in everything. And you can say success or winning, whichever one you want. But I like the word winning. Now, but here's the rub, okay? As you grow as a leader and your impact grows, you will find that what you are leading will grow as well, okay? Whether that be a team or your family or a task. But as you grow individually, you're picking up what I'm putting down. When you grow individually, your surroundings will grow as well. Whatever it is, whatever atmosphere you're in, you're growing as a leader. And sometimes you'll outgrow those around you. And when you do, that's typically what happens when people move on. Mm-hmm. Okay? But you're only going to grow in up to the level of the environment that you're in. Okay? And so part of discipline is when you set your mind that you're going to grow up to a certain level, when you get to the top of the level of the room that you're in, you need to go to a different room. And it's been said, you don't want to be the smartest man in the room. If you are, smartest man or woman, if you are, you're in the wrong room. Okay?
I like that.
So that's true. Mm-hmm. And it's very... it's true. Okay, so you have to, if you want to grow, you have to have discipline to eliminate things that keep you from growing, and that may be the environment that you're in. Okay, so that's one of the things I want you to hear me say early on. But without discipline, you become stagnant, and so you won't grow. Okay, without discipline, because what you'll do is you'll grow to the level of the room that you're in, and then you're good. And some people stay there, and they're good. I'm happy. I'm good. I'm content. And then some people outgrow that room, and they move on. But nonetheless, your discipline has to grow in order for you to grow outside of that room, okay? Discipline is the fertilizer for your growth as a person and for whatever it is that you're leading. Okay?
The fertilizer.
It is the fertilizer. The discipline is the fertilizer. That is what creates generates the growth. And with self-discipline, almost anything is possible. Theodore Roosevelt said that, by the way. He quoted it. In fact, he said, with self-discipline, most anything is possible. That was Theodore Roosevelt. Self-discipline is indeed regarded as one of the keys to success, like we talk about. And many people say that self-discipline that means to have determination and fortitude. And that's not what it means at all. Because determination is different than discipline. Mm-hmm. And determination is, in fact, a mandate.
That's right.
Right?
That's our next one.
Yeah. So it's not, the definition of discipline is not the same as determination. So if you're a listener out there, don't confuse the two, please. Mm-hmm. Self-discipline is discipline and determination is different. But that would mean having the strength and the will to continue to carry out the mission or what you want to achieve despite setbacks and hardships. And that's motivation, okay? So that's the other thing about what we're talking about right now. Motivation and discipline are different. Motivation is different than discipline. Motivation is not a mandate. It's important, but it's not a mandate. And it's different than discipline. And we're going to talk about that. So I believe that self-discipline is more about having self-control or the ability to control your desires. It's even bigger than motivation. Because here's the deal. You and your desires may not be what you need. Okay?
Yeah.
Your desires will change. Desires is an emotion. Motivation is an emotion. Okay? Discipline is not an emotion. So I tell people all the time, you have to manage yourself and your emotions, and you have to lead yourself in your emotions, most of all, okay? And so self-discipline keeps you from falling prey to bad habits, being lazy, procrastination, irresponsibility, all these things that you do not want to be, okay? If you want to win and you want to succeed, you do not want to be a procrastinator. Because, look, here's the deal is, all these other things that procrastination and bad habits, lazy, irresponsibility, all those things, you're not protected from them. They will creep into your life. And we talked about being intentional. Being intentional to keep that stuff down is what you have to do. Discipline is where that comes from. But being able to be self-aware and acknowledge, this is creeping in on me. And again, we're going to talk about the ways to prevent this stuff. I'm stating the case for it right now. So I like to look at it as the ability to command yourself. All right? You need to be able to command yourself out of whatever it is that you're doing, no matter what. Command yourself, or what the other word I like to use is flesh. And that's, my spiritual side coming out there, but yourself and the flesh is the same thing. And so you want to be able to command yourself and flesh, keep it at bay. So let me just tell you this. Me telling me what to do is regular and necessary.
Yep.
Right? Me telling me what to do, just like you telling you what to do. You need to be telling you what to do, okay, on a regular basis. Because if you're not doing that, you won't do the things that we're going to talk about. You have to tell yourself, I'm doing this, and this is how it's going to be. And that's just the way it is. So let's get an example. And I'm jumping around. But where can... Eric, go ahead.
So when we first started talking about discipline, obviously leadership, and I'm like tying it to my business life. But as you're talking more and more just about self-control, it takes me back a little bit to more like just general life discipline, like making sure I'm exercising here and there and making sure I'm eating right and, I've recently cut out alcohol and,
Good.
and it's just like being intentional. Like, I'm good. Like, and you're right. All of those things and being lazy and not exercising and it creeps. It creeps.
Oh,
it creeps.
yeah.
It creeps. It creeps. And I recently, and it was the conference. Someone said something, and it was BTN. BTN stands for better than nothing. Have you heard that?
I have not.
Better than nothing. And every day, do something. Something is better than nothing. Even if it's just 5 push-ups, or it's better than nothing. If I'm gonna do some prospecting, because this is real estate related. If I'm prospecting, make one call. One call is better than no calls. At least you have something to build on.
Well, Jordan Peterson teaches a little study on that, and y'all know I follow Jordan Peterson, but he talks about making your bed. You get up and you make your bed, and it's like, dude, I'm 40 years old, bro. But what it does, it generates the ability for your brain to accomplish something in the morning. You get up, you make your bed, you go make your coffee, and you check the box, bro. Like, you're doing things. And, this is also what delivers people from depression, right? So some of the things that we're talking about. But because, look, it's not always easy to get up and do and be disciplined. In fact, there's seasons of life, I would challenge, there's seasons of life where discipline wanes. And how do you get it back? Mm-hmm. And I had a guy call me last week, I won't name any names, and he's like, man, I need you to do a leadership study on podcast on getting motivated. Like, dude, I don't want to do anything. Like, I've never been like this. I need some help. And I'm like, yeah, you do. But you're human, bro. Mm-hmm. So start working on it and get you a partner. And anyway, but that's good, Daniel. This, today, what we're talking about is one that you have to do for you in order to make you influential. And you have to be well 100% inside so that you can lead, right? You can't lead from a place of emptiness. You typically have to be full, and this helps you be full.
Yeah, this one's different because it is really more about yourself, and it's you, like me telling me, is all about you in your head. It's not about what the people around you see. You know, it's like trustworthy.
Well, they do
stuff like
see
that.
it, though.
Yeah, but it's more. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's more individual, like a battle with yourself, looking in the mirror type thing. Than
of all the disciplines, it is that. You're right, and you're exactly right. The discipline is a self thing, but people do notice it because, number one, you're going to talk about it, and number two, they see it. We'll talk about like getting to work early and getting up early, and they see it always. But anything that so we talked about that too. As a leader, everybody's always watching you, especially your kids, and your wife, your husband, is watching you all the time. And so your ability to be disciplined will help them be disciplined. So therefore, you're impacting their life, right? Yeah. And so the other thing I'll say before we carry on is disciplined people will only follow disciplined people. Okay? So typically, if I'm very disciplined and I'm chiseled out and I have a guy that's leading me that's not, he's not going to lead me. He might manage me. He might be my boss. He might be my leader by role, but he's not going to lead me. You understand what I'm saying?
He's not influencing you.
That's right. Yeah. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
We're learning.
Yeah. So he's not, in other words, I mean, and again, I'm not saying any names, but I'm not following that dude. Like, you know what I mean? Because he's not the person I know I don't need to follow him. He's not disciplined. He can't even get himself up out of bed on Saturday or whatever.
Do you think subconsciously a lot of times people, your manager may not be a leader because of, they don't get to work until 9:30 when everyone's there until 9. Like, do you think subconsciously people are like, I'm not following that person?
Well, yes. They're not literally even acknowledging it.
Right.
They're subconscious.
Right.
That's exactly right, Maddie. That person has no influence on that person, and they don't even know it. Yes.
Yeah.
Subconsciously. That's good. So
Thanks.
Maddie's always so smart. She's smarter than both me and Daniel put together.
She's definitely the brains of the operation.
No.
Definitely.
So self-discipline is difficult to achieve. Okay. So we've talked about how valuable it is. If we haven't stated the case of how valuable it is, it's very, very, very valuable. Okay. It's difficult to achieve. And it requires a battle with yourself and making the right choice every single day. It is not in your nature to be disciplined. And so, Daniel, you said earlier you struggle with it. Guess what? Every human being does. Mm-hmm. All of them struggle with it. And some of them figure it out and they chisel themselves and they run a tight ship for a certain amount of time. And if they're honest, they at some point have to generate the desire to do that again. Because, again, I think it wanes. I don't think it's always knocking on 100%. And it's exhausting. So you have to figure out ways to keep your life disciplined. And so true discipline is not punishing yourself either. Some people say, well, I'm going to get up at 4 o'clock and I'm going to eat this and I'm going to do this. And they carve this out and it's like they're literally punishing themselves. Mm-hmm. And that's not healthy either because then it's not sustainable. And then what you do is it's stressful trying to be disciplined.
Right.
Okay? And so, if you're listening right now, don't go out on a rant and start carving out all this stuff because you're going to stress yourself out and you're never going to, you're going to quit. Mm-hmm. Okay. And oftentimes that's even worse than starting to begin with. And so what you want to do, and we'll talk about it, but you do little things at first that you can do and win and succeed. And you do them so long until they become a habit.
It makes me, and I was talking about this earlier, leading up to talking about discipline, and it's the New Year's resolution stands out. Like everyone makes these New Year's resolutions, and they're grand, and this is it, the new me, and it never it's I think it's just like you just said, it's just that it's too much at one time. Like they're not.
You have to be realistically disciplined.
Yes, and I have done the extreme. Like, I'm getting up at 4 and I'm doing push-ups and then I'm eating breakfast and then at 5:05 I'm getting in the shower and then at 6:02 I'm drinking my coffee. And I've done that, literally. I've done it and it doesn't work. Because, again, you fail one time and you feel defeated. Mm-hmm. And it's like, why am I even doing this? And then the whole thing's a wash.
Yeah.
And so, and I've also done it where I took baby steps. And that typically works. But there again, it doesn't stick forever. It's temporary. And you have to come back to it. And so just like all these other mandates that we talk about, we got to be intentional. And discipline is a big one. So I want one of y'all to speak before I carry on. Areas of our life that we feel like we need discipline. Like give me an area in your life where oh man, we're talking about this, and this is what I need to do, and I want to start so I can open it up, but I want to exercise. So I used to be a gym rat years ago. I stayed in the gym. I worked out and did all that, and before I got married and had kids, I got kids. Now I'm whatever you want to call a business guy, do whatever. I work all the time. And I feel like I don't even have time to go to the gym. I got kids. My schedule's full. But what I realized a couple of years ago, I was like, I've got to take care of myself. I spent 10 years out of the gym. And I said, I'm going to go to the gym. So I'm going to be disciplined. And so I went to the gym in town. I hired a trainer for accountability. And I went for about 2 months. And then I quit again. I don't have time. I literally let meetings, customers, friends, kids, whatever, come in the way of that. Now, you might say, man, you can't let your kid come get your priorities right. No, I'm not saying I'm not putting the gym in front of my kids, okay, ever. Yeah. But the fact is, it's one more thing piled in, right? And so soccer practice, basketball practice, and then all of a sudden I'm like, dude, I don't even have time to go to the gym. And then I don't go for months. And it's like, well, then when I go, I'm fatigued and I'm tired and I'm sore. And it's like, ugh, this sucks. But anyway, one of the areas that I need to be better about is exercise, and I got to figure that out. So, but I wanted to go first. So, Maddie, you go.
I didn't go to church this morning, but my family did, and they talked about Lent at church. So when they came home, they were telling me about it. And growing up, I always thought you gave up something for Lent, and I guess my husband was talking about how you could also do something that you don't normally do, kind of thing. Like, and so he's going to start. We have an exercise bike, and he wants to get up every morning and get on the exercise bike. So of course I'm like, well, gosh, no, I guess I gotta do something too. And so exercise comes to mind for me too, but more along the lines, I want to put my phone down and go on a walk with my kids.
Bro, that's
every
so
night.
good. I'm so encouraged right now. That's great.
So for me, I've got this new strategy. So when I'm working, I don't like have anyone to check in with. I just have to get my job done. And it's the same thing. It's putting the phone in. But it was introduced to me as golden hours. And it's like, look, you don't have to work for 8 hours. But if I can sit down and not be distracted by my phone, I mean, really, that's everything. For 3 hours, I'm going to get more done than I can get done in an 8 hour period, sitting there taking a break, looking at my phone ever so often. So golden hours and just being like disciplined about this is work time. And then, you know what, if I'm working at 8 a.m. and then 11 a.m. comes around, then I can take a break because I just did 3 solid hours and got a lot done. So that's a big piece. And for me, having the discipline of being working and being dad and not trying to do it at the same time anymore. And I'm bad about it because things got to get done. Clients need their things. But when I'm with the kids, I'm with the kids and just let it be and focus on being dad and just engaging on even a higher level than I ever have before. And It's paying off. I'm seeing the payoff.
That's good.
Right now.
I tell you, dude, you could talk about this subject right here for days. I mean, there's so many things that we need to do better, and discipline is the way that happens. And so this one is really, really critical to the leader. Because again, you heard me say earlier, if you want to lead well, you have to be well, you know? I didn't think I said it like that, but that's true. You have to lead well, you have to be well. Self-discipline actually grants you freedom. Okay, so you think, well, no, because it's not freedom because you're imprisoned by what you have to do, right? And that's part of discipline. Well, yeah, but it gives you freedom because the result is freedom after you've done it because you're doing what matters, and that's freedom. Even if it's not, freedom is not just do whatever I want to do. Some people think it is. But that's not really what it is, because when you do whatever you want to do, Jordan Peterson, he says, you become hedonistic, and that's not really what you want. What you want to do is a human, the nature, you want to be full of purpose. And so that's when you're happy, not when you're doing whatever you want to do. And I think Jordan Peterson talks about sitting on a beach. Go sit on the beach and lay around and do nothing and drink Mai Tais for whatever. You're going to be a miserable person because you have no purpose. And so as humans, we like purpose. But freedom from being a slave to your willful desires is what, you don't want to be a slave to your desires. You want to be, again, discipline helps you divide your time and therefore making you more free. Okay? Y'all remember my man Jocko Willink that I talked about, Extreme Ownership?
Yes, sir.
He also wrote another book called Discipline Equals Freedom. And I did not read it yet. I've been telling myself I'm going to read it. It's a book that he wrote. I have not read it, but I want to. But in the book, he says it's an equation. Discipline equals freedom. Okay? And they're not opposites, like some people may think. Discipline is the path to freedom. Discipline is the driver of daily execution, and it's every single day. That's the other thing I want to say. Discipline might seem like a mandate that's not all that critical, but it is one of the mandates that's used every day because you have to have it every day. And again, even when it becomes habit, we talked about earlier, letting it become a habit, and then it it's a habit, so you don't have to worry about it, right? Which is what you want. But it's still, at some point, you still requires discipline to keep doing it. So, remember we talked about not motivation. Remember, motivation is a feeling, so we're staying away from that. Manage your feelings. Feelings get you in trouble. And so I tell people that all the time. Oftentimes, you need to travel the hard road. Most of the time, you need to travel the hard road. And if it's easy, it's probably not worth having. And it takes me to my Bible, of course, where Jesus said, enter through the narrow gate, for the gate is wide that leads to destruction. It's the same thing here with discipline. If you don't have discipline and you just kind of do what you want to do, destruction is on the way. Okay? When you're walking that narrow road and you're hanging with it and it's difficult, typically that's where you want to be. All right? Self-discipline delays short-term gratification for a long-term reward. And so, again, having self-discipline helps us overcome laziness. Procrastination prevents us from taking things for granted. Discipline oftentimes makes you more grateful, okay, because you start to understand what it takes to do things. And it directs us to choose what we want now and what we want for the future. And it doesn't, when you start looking through the lens of discipline, you start looking at things for what they could be and not just what they are. Okay. And then of course, you alone are responsible for your quality of life. Self-discipline makes you reevaluate what you need to do in order to achieve success and winning, right? So, what you sow now is what you'll reap later. That's also, words of wisdom for you. And the only way to sow now is in discipline. And so, instilling self-discipline in yourself is not, like we talked about, it's not a walk in the park. It's not easy. And so, but it's necessary. And so now I'll tell you how I do it.
Is this the secret that I've been waiting on?
Yeah.
Oh, finally.
So, and I know it may sound trivial, but this is what I do. Okay. So I call it guardrails because guardrails keep you on the road. All right. And so when let's just give me an example of something, Daniel, that you feel like what you said a while ago, something that you physically want to do, an actionable item to exhibit discipline. Give me one. Something that you're going to do.
Put my phone down and not engage with my
golden hours.
Right, so
golden hours.
But what do you do on your phone that you don't want to do?
Social media.
Okay. Which one?
Facebook.
Okay. So what I have done in the past to stop Facebook is I deleted the app off my phone. Mm-hmm. That's a guardrail.
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Just for the 3 hours, or
No, literally deleted it from my life.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. You will succumb to temptation. Mm-hmm. And if you really want to delete it from you want to, the golden hour or whatever, the best thing to do, abstinence is the best thing to do. Mm-hmm. And as hard as it might be, like, yeah, but I'd use that thing for work and I use that thing. No. Delete it right now. Okay. I have literally went in and deleted the app now. And then you reward yourself later. Okay. You say, okay, I use that for work. I got to have it. Yeah, whatever. Let me tell you something. You don't have to have anything. Uh-huh. Okay. You delete the app. And then you figure out, you set your time. And once you've figured out that you can maintain the discipline, then you put it back on. All right. So that's the first step. And again, guardrails. So let's say I want to get up at 4 a.m. What are guardrails that I can do to get up at 4 a.m.? Well, I'm going to set my alarm. I'm going to set another alarm.
Yeah, I was like, just one.
I'm going to set, and look,
Probably 3 or 4.
and I'm going to go to my wife and I'm going to say, hey, or I'm going to go, look, if you're not married, go to your next door neighbor. Can you do me a favor? I will pay you. I need you to come get me up every morning at 4 a.m. How much does it cost? I mean, you're laughing, but I'm dead serious. Like, I'm talking about extreme. Because here's the deal. You can say, well, oh, man, you're crazy. No. That's how important this is. Discipline is that important. And you're not going to do it because you don't have discipline. All right? So what do you got to do? You have to put guardrails in place, whatever they look like, whatever extreme it has to be, to make yourself do that. And once you do that, once you have done it, then, like in the Facebook thing, delete the app. Give yourself 3 days, a fast for 3 days. And then you're going to say, okay, in 3 days, I'm going to put this back on my phone and I'm going to do this. And if I don't do that, I'm going to delete it again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
That's a good idea.
You're going to teach yourself, physically teach yourself how to win. And when you start winning, overcoming you're disciplining yourself to discipline yourself.
That's right.
Does that make sense? That's how I do it.
It's like reverse psychology. Kind of.
It is. And you know what? I promise you it works. 100%.
All right, so you want to exercise more.
Yes.
What guardrails are you using?
So that's funny you ask, because I have one.
Okay.
Check this out. So I just bought a new house, as you know,
Whoop, whoop.
and it's in town.
Yes, sir.
I'm literally selling everything I own right now. But when I bought the house, I walked into my house and I was snooping around, and this guy that I bought the house from has gym equipment in his garage. And I'm like, hey, bro, let's go to this deal in this house. How about you leave all that gym equipment? And I'm going to use it. And he said, man, it's $10,000 worth of gym equipment. It's a bench and all this stuff. And I'm like, that's cool, bro. Whatever, I'll pay for it. So I have gym equipment now. I have a bench press bar and a barbell and a rack and all these cool weights and dumbbells. Anyway, I'm setting up my garage, the garage of the house, as a gym. And I'm going to try it. Yeah. So that would be a guardrail. It's sitting in my way. I'm going to use it. And I said to myself, look, dummy, if you don't use that stuff, then the old lady's going to want to park her car in here.
That's right.
Right? So I'm going to have to build her a shop outside. I'll park her car out there. But I'm going to use it. Yeah. I swear I'm going to use it. Yeah. And, hey, the other thing, guardrail, hey, accountability. So you hold me accountable to that, D.
You got it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing. If you were to ask me to call you at 4 o'clock in the morning to get you up, I probably wouldn't be able to do it. I would really do bad at that.
Well, fortunately, I don't need that. But some people might. Look, there's people out there that have trouble getting up in the morning. Okay? Lots of them. And, well, yeah.
I'm not a morning person whatsoever.
But look, and here's the deal. Some people don't have to be. Right.
I mean, I get to work on time, so.
But the discipline part is if you wanted to be an early person, then you would need to set guardrails in place for you to do that.
Right.
And so if there's anything inside of you that you want to do, guardrails. That's the number one thing we talked about, guardrails. And then the second thing is accountability. You have to have accountability.
In order to be disciplined, do you think that you have to set up guardrails, or do you only start with guardrails when you figure out that you can't do it?
That's right. You start with guardrails when you figure out I cannot overcome this. Okay. I cannot be disciplined in this area. And again, you heard me earlier say, we talked about Facebook, but what's one for you, Maddie, that you said that you were going to need to do?
Well, I was just going to start walking with my kids every night and put my phone down.
What's your guardrail for that?
Tell your kid.
That's right, bro. Tell your kid.
Yeah.
Hey, kid.
We're going to do this because you know that they're going to be like, well, you told me every day that we were going to go for a walk.
Absolutely. Yeah. And look, baby, you go to that kid and you say, look, mommy might tell you no sometime and you need to drag me out of this house.
Right. No, I know.
And if you can't drag me out of this house, go get your dad and tell him to drag me. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Again, you make yourself do it first. Make yourself, like, dude, there's a way to make yourself, okay? But the guardrails are the way. and then the accountability is the backup. So anyway, that's what we do. But so we'll land the plane here. I mean, was that good enough?
That was great.
I have something that I want to share, and it's a leadership victory.
Yeah, do it.
That one of us had, and I don't know if you heard about Maddie here.
Oh yeah, Presidente.
Maddie is now the president of the Buckhead Manor Property Owners Association.
Man,
and I really believe in her.
Yeah,
and she's gonna lead us with dignity and passion,
discipline.
Hey, we got a victory, bro.
So yeah, it's a victory
Thanks,
for
Steve.
all of us.
I appreciate you.
Hey, the Impact Podcast might have been helping. No, I'm just
You're
kidding.
sweet.
No, but it's great, Maddie. I'm proud. It's an honor to sit in the same room with you.
Oh,
Wow.
yes. I'll sign your shirt later.
Yeah, you can sign my hat.
No, well, and to go back on that, so I was at the front of the entrance to our neighborhood, and I was just cleaning it up a little bit, and one of my friends stopped and took a picture of me, and I was like waving, and she sent it in a group chat, and someone that's in the community, she's a principal, wrote back, and she said, "Servant leadership," and I was like,
I love it.
and I was like, "Where'd you hear that?" But she'd been listening, so
Oh man, that's
shout out
great.
to you.
Absolutely.
I won't say your name.
Absolutely, yeah. It's good stuff.
Very cool.
Very cool. All right, well, we're gonna land the plane. We got next week. We've got a guest, so we'll catch up with him, and we'll see y'all next week. Thank y'all. Signing off.
Good stuff.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.